Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks. Welcome into today's edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro. Thank you so much for pressing play and for making Next on the Tee a part of your weekly golf content. With me today are two outstanding instructors who are even better people, oh, by the way. So whether you're looking to play smarter, sharpen your short game, make better decisions out on the golf course, or just understand some of the things going on around the PGA Tour, well, we've got you covered in this episode. First up is my gumba, Rob Strano. He is making his, unbelievable to say this, 26th appearance with me here on Next on the Tee. Rob is one of the most innovative teachers in the history of our game. If you've seen him on the Golf Channel, you remember how great he was there. He was just one of the most engaging hosts that they had during some of their Golf Academy segments. He also hosted his own show for several years called The Golf Kingdom, and if you ever saw that show, and you can still go watch it, it's out there on YouTube, you'll understand why I say Rob is one of the most innovative teachers in the history of our game. Now, if you've seen him at the PGA Merchandise Show, you would probably also know him as the mayor because the guy knows absolutely everybody. When you walk with Rob down the aisles and walk around the show, he is constantly being pulled aside. Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob. He is just that popular and just that wonderful of a human being. Now, Rob recently returned from a trip over to Germany and found an indoor golf facility while he was there. And in grand Rob fashion, he took over the place, and I would expect nothing less of Rob. So we start right there in our conversation. Then we progress over to a video that I saw on Rob's Instagram page, which you can go check out. You can find him at The Golf Kingdom. On there, you'll see Rob grinding his own wedges. He explains what he's doing to the heel of the wedges and why he's doing it. After 25 previous visits on the show, I wonder why that topic of grinding your own wedges never came up, but nonetheless, it's very impressive when you watch it. From there, he shares a great chipping tip with us. He also shares tips about how to hit great shots from those uphill, downhill, side hill lies that we rarely get an opportunity to practice out on the practice range. Rob is also an AimPoint proponent, so I ask him why it slows down play so much, even when we're watching guys go through the process on the PGA Tour, and he explains what tour pros are getting wrong when they employ it, which has given AimPoint such a black eye. Rob also weighs in on the new PGA Tour format proposal, which is dumb, oh, by the way, in my opinion, spoiler alert. Plus, I get his thoughts on whether Jordan Spieth or any of us, really, could use a fresh voice in the room or in our heads when things start to go south. And in Jordan's case, the player has fallen into a long drought of not playing up to the level that he or we once did. Then in segment 2, PGA Master Professional John Hughes is back. Now, folks, of the nearly 30,000 PGA professionals we have out there, John is one of only about 450 or so to achieve master professional status. So I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that John is one of the best teachers in our game. And in this segment with him, it is completely dedicated to things that can help all of us who don't have our names embroidered on our golf bags get better. This is the John Hughes Nothing But the Tips segment. And we start out learning about how to handle those nasty hard pan lies. You know, the ones where we're wondering if we're going to thin it over the green or perhaps chunk it 5 yards in front of us. John shares a cure for that. From there, we get into how to get better distance control from greenside bunkers. And you guys know how I struggle with those shots. And we talk about something that I think could save weekend warriors like me a whole bunch of strokes from a mindset perspective. Play like the golfer we actually are instead of the golfer that we hope shows up that day. And what do we mean by that when I say that? Well, choose the club based on the distance we usually hit them, the average distance, not based on that, one time we hit a hero shot years ago, what we realistically hit each club. We also talk smart strategy out on the golf course. Should players like me keep firing at every flag or start aiming for the middle of the green? Is that a better way to go about it? And if you've only got 5 minutes before your tee time, you rush to get there and that sort of thing, and you want to try to figure out what the green speeds are real quick, John's got a tip for you how to do that as well. So a ton of great golf content and tips coming your way on this episode of the show. I can't thank you enough, as always, for pressing play and being a part of the show with us. A lot of vitamin G is headed your way from me and from what you're going to get throughout the course of this conversation. My gumba, Rob Strano, and PGA Master Professional John Hughes here on Next on the Tee. One last thing before we get started. If you enjoyed the show, please do me a favor and subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. As you guys know by now, that's how the algorithm picks up this show and starts to present it to more great golf enthusiasts just like you. I would also love for you to join me over on Substack, where you're going to find exclusive articles, behind-the-scenes stories, additional show information, like we've got the Legends Vault and we've got the On This Day in Golf History and the Did You Know series and all of that sort of thing. Plus, as usual, your weekly dose of vitamin G. It's free to subscribe there over on Substack. I hope you'll join me there as well. All right, let's get into this edition of the show. Before I bring on my first guest, I want to give you guys something that has just really stuck with me, and it's some products that I have been really impressed with. Now, they're local Pittsburgh products, but you can get them anywhere. It doesn't matter. They'll ship them wherever you're at. But two things that I am a huge fan of are hot sauce, and I love spices because I do the majority of the cooking in the house. And there are two companies that just knocked my socks off when I reached out. And look, they're not paying for this ad. This isn't a paid endorsement or anything. I just am so impressed that I want you to know about them and give you an opportunity to try them. And that is Artie's Hot Sauce. Huge fan of hot sauce. That's a big thing for me. Plus Steel City Salt. They have so many wonderful spice blends that I wanted to make you guys aware of them. If you're an enthusiast of either hot sauce or great spices that are going to light up everything that you put them on, I wanted to make you aware of them. I love trying different sauces and finding ones that have the perfect blend between heat and flavor. And a lot of sauces can bring the heat, but they've got no flavor behind it. Now, that is why I've become a huge fan of Artie's Hot Sauce. Artie's has found that sweet spot. His sauces bring plenty of flavor first, and then the right amount of kick behind it. Whether you're putting it on wings, taco, burgers, eggs, pizza, or just about anything else, Artie's Hot Sauce makes everything that you have taste better. If you're a fellow hot sauce lover, you've got to go give them a try. You can find them out online at artieshotsauce.com. I also want to give a shout out to the Steel City Salt Company. Their handcrafted spice blends and seasonings are out of this world fantastic. I've become a big fan of several of them, including the Steel City Steak Seasoning, Black and Gold Blend, and their Pittsburgh Pepper Blend. I added them when I do things like grill out steak, grill out chicken. I sprinkle them on vegetables to give those an extra kick. I'm also a big pickle fan, so their dill pickle salt is going to knock your socks off. Not to mention their Pittsburgh's Little Italy, which I started to include in my Sunday red sauce recipe and sprinkle on top of pasta to give it an added burst of flavor. Their Black and Gold Blend, Yinzer Dust, and Love Pittsburgh Everything Salt is great on things like fries, eggs, the baked salmon that I make. John and the crew over there are going to grab you by the taste buds, and they're not going to let go. You're going to enjoy the attention that goes into each and every one of their blends. You're going to love it. I promise you. Go out there and check it out online for yourself. SteelCitySalt.com. You know I also have a huge dose of vitamin G for everybody over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and TribLive.com. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the TribLive app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. Okay, now back for the 26th time, and I'm really humbled to say that, as one of the all-time great instructors in our game and my gumba, Rob Strano. You likely know Rob from the years that he hosted the Golf Kingdom TV show, which you can still go out and watch on his YouTube channel. You've probably also seen Rob on the Golf Channel sharing playing lessons on Golf Channel Academy. If you were at the PGA Merchandise Show, you'd know him as the mayor because he knows absolutely everybody there. You can find Rob at his Golf Academy down in Destin, Florida. And if you're going to be anywhere near there, maybe you're taking in the beach, or maybe you're going down there for winter break with the family, get up a little early, sneak out perhaps. Go check out Rob and all the great stuff he has set up at his academy. You're going to be very impressed. Check him out online on Instagram at The Golf Kingdom. And like I say, Rob is one of the most innovative teachers in our game. Plus, he played out on tour for several years, so his expertise is what it takes to get out on tour, to get to play your best golf or make it into college, high school, whatever it is. His expertise comes from actually doing the things that he's telling you to do. He's just absolutely fantastic and one of my favorite people on the planet. And I'm very excited he is back with me again today here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Rob, how are you, my Goomba?
The views of this guest reflect himself only, and especially reflect those of the Italian golfing community of the Panhandle of Florida. Do not hold those against the Italian hosting this show. Chris, great to be on.
I love you, my friend. Rob, I got to start by asking you because I'm jealous as hell. I saw you recently went over to Europe, more specifically to Germany. Let me live a little vicariously through you. Tell me about the trip.
Well, every early June, because they punched the golf course, I started taking little getaways, and this year it was a little bigger getaway. I went to Germany and then Austria, and then the best part of the trip was I went to Latvia after that because my former staff coach, who I coached on the LPGA Tour, is Latvian, and she went home to take over the national team there. So the great part of the trip was reuniting with Laura in Latvia and spending a couple days working with the national team there, teaching them short game and AimPoint green reading and chipping and putting and all that stuff over there. It was an absolute blast. But the Germany trip was fantastic. We went to Munich and went south from there to the castles at Neuschwanstein and Hohenschwangau. And then we had a car. So we then made a beeline from there to Berchtesgaden and went up to Eagle's Nest, went into Salzburg and absolutely enjoyed Salzburg. We actually stayed in it's a palace, but they've converted it into a very important destination conference center with 30 hotel rooms, but it's actually where they filmed all the backyard scenes in The Sound of Music. So when we walked out from breakfast, we were standing in the backyard where they fell out of the boat into the water, and Maria came running up when the kids were sad, and they played, the game of ball with the Baroness. Everything from the back of the movie was shot at this place where we stayed. It was fabulous. From there, we drove over to Vienna with stops in Linz and Melk along the way, and then flew up to Latvia. So it was a great trip.
No kidding. Get to play any golf?
I actually did. When we were walking through Munich, my wife went, "Well, look at that." And I went, "That says indoor golf. What is this?" And I tell my Instagram page, I went and walked into this building, and they had a pickleball court. They said, "Oh no, the indoor golf is downstairs." So I went downstairs, and the owner toured me around, and the indoor golf is in old horse stables. So the actual horse stable itself, the pen, are the hitting bays, and it is really cool. So I did a little Instagram social media for them and talked about how cool it was, hit a couple shots. So I did that on the front end of the trip, and then the Latvian coaching on the back end.
That's awesome. Good for you. Rob, speaking of playing, I saw something out on your Instagram page, a video of you grinding your own wedges. I had no idea you were into grinding your own clubs. Talk about that, what you do to your wedges so that the heel doesn't dig in as much, and just the amazing part of you actually going out there and tinkering with your own golf clubs. Talk about what you do.
Well, I'm really particular about my wedges, and what's funny about my background, and I've just been under the lucky star of people I know. I've known Bob Vokey for over 30 years. And most people don't know that Bob started with Founders Club. Gary Adams started TaylorMade and then sold it and regretted it and started Founders Club in about 1990. And Gary was an Illinois guy where I grew up in St. Louis. And he said, Rob, we'd love to have you on staff. So I was on staff with them. And he brought Bob Vokey in. So I've known Vokey since 1990. And so I've got some wedges here that are my old Founders Club wedges that Voke ground for me. And I always like the look of them. And the modern wedges, I don't like the grind on them. So I grind just the snot out of the heel. I notch it a little bit so that the center line of the sweet spot on the leading edge is out and the heel is back. So when I lay it flat and open, the notch in the heel allows me to really, really slip the heel in the ground and it won't dig. And I can hit some nasty little shots, kind of spinning it out of the heel where I slip the heel in and kind of counterclockwise rotate the face and just flip these shots off the tightest lines.
Wow. Okay. So along those lines, right, as you talk about grinding that down, is that something, I mean, you don't see that a lot. No, if I think back, I think Nicklaus used to do that. I think he had actually some wedge sets where he would grind that just a little bit. But for those of us that might struggle getting out of the bunker or out of tight lies and that sort of thing, is that something we should consider?
No, you should consider getting a lesson and learn how to do it is what you ought to consider. Grinding your own wedge or coming up with that isn't going to help your wedge game. This is high level stuff. And most of your players do grind them or they have the guys grind them certain ways. I remember when I was with another equipment company before I joined Callaway that they created this wedge with all this technology in the bounce. And one of the players walked in with this wedge, brand new, and I was in the equipment van, and he just buried it on the grinder and just took all the technology out of it. I mean, he was in there for a half an hour just grinding and sparks flying and smoke, and finally got it the way he wanted it. And I'm just watching this going, yeah, I can relate to that. I'm really particular on how it looks, and you know, and it's when you have certain shots you know how to play that maybe other players don't. It becomes a situation where the tool you use has got to be what allows you to do it. And they just make the heels of the wedges too blocky and too diggy, and I don't like that.
All right, so sticking with wedge shots, another video you put out is about how to hit a nice little chip shot that you were showing, and you mentioned the proper swing is to imagine someone grabbing and holding on to your trail side pocket. Walk us through that.
Yeah, that was in Latvia, and I was hitting pitch shots with one of the kids on the national team there, and he stayed after. It was great. I said, I'll stay as long as I need to stay. I'm Coach Laura's prisoner here for as long as she wants me. And this kid stayed after and just pounded me with questions and said, would you help me with my pitch shots? And I was hitting about a 40-yard pitch shot, and I had about, I don't know, 30, 40 feet of green from the fringe. And the error players make is they think it's a mini full swing. And it's not. You can't activate legs and hips, which is why no one warms up correctly. They'll warm up with full swings because they know they can't hit it 40 or 50 yards because they just, make a mess. They'll shank it. They'll whiff it right. They'll hit it way too far. They'll blade it. They'll fat it because they're using too much legs, which is what this young man was doing. And I told Marcus, I said, look, the feeling is when you go back, feel like someone's holding your right hip pocket and let your chest start to rotate open as your arms come down and keep that lower body really, really still. And I've got a great video of Justin Thomas hitting some wedge shots at a tour event, and he's got his yardage book in his back pocket. And as he starts down, it's from the back side. You can see the yardage book never move. It doesn't move until his hands kind of get in front of his right leg.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a great video. I show it all the time.
And we'll be right back. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have, fast is a necessity, and speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers, built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. You guys know what a fan I am of OnPoint Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. OnPoint is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with OnPoint, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let OnPoint help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today. Now let's talk about a piece of equipment that we all struggle with out on the golf course, and that's our sunglasses. Rated the #1 glasses in golf, John Doe's Crisp Extreme lenses are the highest quality lenses in the business. They are golf-centric. They have non-polarized lenses with true depth perception, so you get to keep your glasses on for every shot. How great would that be not to have to take your glasses off and on during the course of your round? So you have true, proper depth perception every time that you're standing over the golf ball. Now, John Doe is co-owned by 4-time major champion Ernie Els. Why? Because when he tried them, he immediately wanted in. John Doe. See the game differently. Go to johndoesport.com and enter promo code NOT, N-O-T-T, for Next on the Tee for a $35 discount at checkout. That's John Doe Sport, JONDOSPORT.com. I wear them on the course, when I'm driving, or just when I'm out and about. And people tell me all the time, hey man, I love your sunglasses. See the difference for yourself at johndoesport.com.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. Rob, like I mentioned in your intro, you've got such a wonderful facility there in Destin. One of the many advantages is you have a way for us to come in and work on all kinds of lies. You can simulate an uphill or a downhill lie like most of us face when we're out on the golf course. We don't get to practice that often at a driving range, but when we are faced with those kinds of lies, help us with the adjustments that we need to make in order to make solid contact and not come over the top and pull hook it or slice it off into the woods when we have a side hill lie. What are the things that we need to adjust to in order to hit good golf shots?
Well, the first thing the players got to do is do assessment of the lie, which they don't do. They'll get their rangefinder and take the yardage standing next to the cart of their bag, and then grab a club, walk over, take a practice string, and walk in. And the first time they know what the lie is, the slope especially, is when the club goes behind the ball. The first thing you got to do is assess that first. And I have a saying that goes like this: the game of golf asks a lot of you before you ever swing the club. And one of it is assessing the lie and the atmospherics and all the other stuff. So the thing I find players miss, though, Chris, is they miss the double slope. So they'll catch the predominant slope. They'll go, oh, this is downhill. And it happened in a playing lesson on Friday with one of the top high school girls in the Panhandle that I coached. And she had a downhill lie with the ball above her feet. And the predominant slope was the ball above her feet. And she didn't catch the downhill lie, which threw the ball a little bit to the right, and she missed the green a little to the right. And I said to her, that was all good what you did, but you didn't see the second slope or feel the second slope. And she looked at it and she went, oh, geez. And most players don't catch the double slope. But let's just stay with single plane slopes. Ball above the feet. Very simple. Ball above the feet, the ball will tend to move a little more to the left. Because it's above you, or because the ball is above your feet, the ball's closer to you, so you got to grip down according to how much slope there is above your feet to make the club shorter so you don't stick it a foot, in the ground behind the ball because of the slope. As with all slopey shots, your main thought is solid contact. Because the slopes, can get severe, the main thing you need to think is, let's just hit this solid. And if it goes in the direction I want it to go, that's a bonus. But I got to make solid contact first. The tougher one is the ball below the feet because you got to get down there. You can't make the club longer. You got to hold it, at the length you would hold it for any full swing. What you need to do, depending on the slope, is you've got to get wider to get your rear end down between your feet. If you keep your stance width too narrow, where you can't get your rear end down enough, you can't get your knees flexed down enough, and you're going to jump out of the shot. And that's the skull top whiff right shot that a lot of people hit off that ball below the feet. So get a little wider, get your butt down between your feet a little better. And then the trick is you have to stay down there, which may not allow you to make a full finish. And when I teach players this on a severe side hill lie where the ball is below their feet, and I go, feel like you make a little Arnold Palmer finish here, all of a sudden they flush it a lot better because they're not yanking themselves around by trying to go to a full finish. And then, downhill lies, that's probably the next tougher one because players try to help the ball in the air. You want to feel like you swing down the slope. If you need more loft to get the ball in the air, take it, and just realize because you're down the hill, an 8 becomes a 7 becomes a 6. So you can add a little loft, still get, close to some, good distance out of it, but swing down the hill. Do not try to help the ball in the air. Just trust it's going to fly a little lower and do it and factor that into what you're doing. And then you kind of flip it around on the uphill slope. Downhill slope, the ball wants to go right. Uphill wants to go a little left because you can't quite get through the shot. And the ball will come off a little left because of that. And it sometimes, depending on how severe the slope is, you definitely can't finish, and up on your, right toe and up in a full finish. You might end up going backwards a little bit on that, but you fight like heck to stay in the shot as you get to impact.
Fantastic.
I thought so too. Thank you.
Rob, you're an AimPoint proponent. I've had a few of your peers on the show who are also our AimPoint proponents, but AimPoint isn't viewed all that positively by a lot of people, particularly those of us watching on the PGA Tour. It tends to get a bad rap because players are taking too long to kind of go through the process. And I wanted to get your thoughts. Is it just because they don't understand it? They can't do the math in their heads? Why is it taking so long for people to use AimPoint, particularly when they're doing it out on the PGA Tour?
That's such an easy answer because they don't do AimPoint Express correctly. They do AimPoint and then everything else. They add it to their toolbox of green reading. AimPoint Express done correctly, the ball's gone in 45 seconds. I mean, it's incredibly quick. It's a fast read. You line it up and you go. If I were to demonstrate it done correctly, you'd go, well, there's no problem here. The problem is tour players, they do it wrong. They don't do it correct. They don't do it the way Mark Sweeney and I and anybody else that's one of the top AimPoint coaches teach it. So they mess it up. They add to it. It slows them down because you got to remember these guys don't trust something simple that gets you the right read. They want to add to it and do more, and that just makes a mess of it, which is what you see on tour. And I see it all the time, and I just put my hands behind my head and just go, surrender scorpion or surrender cobra, and go, what in the world are you doing? That's not it. And that's that's where it comes from. It's a very quick read. And Mark Sweeney, who is AimPoint, has done some great posts on how many steps AimPoint takes versus how many steps it takes to do an actual green read, doing it the conventional way. And it's not even close. And I was out on tour early with AimPoint, and I was in the rules van with Slugger White and all the guys, talking to them, Mark Russell, about AimPoint and how we were doing it and helping them understand, a lot of these guys aren't doing it right, which is why there were some questions about it early on. And I was explaining to, Slugger and Mark and the guys, this isn't the way we teach it. So there's where the confusion's coming in. And it's going to be that way because the people that are commenting on it don't want to understand it and learn it. And then the people that have it on tour, the players, don't want to just do that. They want to do everything else. And it's just that's what it is. So the read is actually very fast.
So take us through it. Like what do you do if you're doing it properly? And I mean, obviously I'm not asking you to put a class on here, but if you were to go through it properly and get through it in 45 seconds, kind of give us a feel for what they should be doing.
Well, I can't, divulge trade secrets by going through it, but it's very simple. If I have a 20-foot putt, I'm reading the putt in two locations, and I'm walking back, and I am, using my fingers for the slope, and I'm done.
Wow. Okay. Well,
that's it.
It certainly doesn't look that simple when they're out there taking minutes to try to go through that.
They're turning opposite directions. There's no turning opposite directions. It's one direction.
Yeah.
It's really, it's sadly comical. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Crazy.
Rob, we haven't talked about this on the show since the new PGA Tour format was announced, with the two levels that the Tour has proposed, with a championship and a Challenger Series that's supposed to come into play in 2028. Plus, you got those two series, or those two tours, if you will. You've still got the Korn Ferry Tour that's going to be in play. Who knows what happens with the top 10 players on the DP World Tour, because those guys were supposed to earn exemptions onto the PGA Tour. It seems like we've got a lot of opportunities for players to get out on the tour at some level. I just wonder who's going to be willing to sponsor a Challenger Series event when the top players aren't going to be playing. Who is going to broadcast those tournaments, because we have people struggling on the Korn Ferry Tour. They're struggling to get eyes. And now you'll have a Challenger Series wanting eyes. You got the Champions Tour wanting eyes. You got the LPGA Tour wanting eyes. It's a lot of golf to find a place that people actually tune in and watch it, that will compete on some level with the PGA Tour. It's kind of confusing to me, Robbie. I don't understand why this makes the PGA Tour better. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you expound on that a little?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's a mess. I'm a former player, and I don't understand it anymore. I've lost track of it. And here's the thing I'll say about it. This is what happens when non-golf people get involved in the process, which is what we've got with the Fenway Group. You've got non-golf people on the player advisory board, and I get it. We're trying to do this, do that. And I just laughed at the second to last press conference. I can't think of the guy. His name comes in and out of my head. That's doing all the talking for the tour right now. It's not the commissioner. But he said, we got to get back in these major markets. We got to get back in Chicago and Boston and Philadelphia and DC and New York. And I went, you moron. The tour used to be there. It used to be there. And we lost Westchester. We lost, the DC event that was at Congressional. We lost the Western Open in Chicago, which was at Butler National, then Cog Hill.
Right.
We lost that event. Philadelphia had an event for years, and Philadelphia's got great golf courses. Boston had the Bank of Boston tournament for years.
Right.
And it's like, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. We need those markets, but we shouldn't have lost them in the first place. And, and Dean Beeman, in my mind, was the best commissioner we've had.
100%.
He handed it to Tim Fincham. who was a lawyer, and I knew Tim. Surprisingly, I introduced myself to Tim one day, and he went, "Rob, I know who you are." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know Tim Fincham knew who I was. And and Tim did a very good job, but we somehow lost the message somewhere of staying in these markets. And I get what it was that they were doing and trying to capitalize on, but at some point you got to look at it and go, we can't lose the Western Open. We can't
Used
lose
to be a major once upon a time, right?
Yeah, we can't lose the DC event. We can't lose New York. Yeah. And and how you get there now, Q School's all but gone, if not completely gone, I think.
Yep.
And now, okay, how do you move and go? Where, you used to have the good stories of a guy who got through Q School and then won. Out of nowhere.
Qualifiers are gone.
Yeah, all the qualifiers are gone. We're losing stories, and we're losing, the open aspect of the PGA Tour. It's becoming a very closed shop, and I just don't understand.
I don't understand either. I mean, not only from a venue perspective, we're just going to have so many tours now. I mean, people don't watch the Corn Ferry Tour. Now we're going to add a Challenger Series. Who's going to sponsor a Challenger Series? Why would I sponsor it? Because what you're telling me is I'm not going to get the top players out there to come to this event. Why?
Yeah.
And then I don't get it.
I'll give you a better one on the advertising side, just real quick, and then we'll go on to whatever you want to talk about next. So at the Academy, the 4 best weeks of the year are the major weeks because we have 15-foot screens and we don't have any members in our member bays. We're streaming the major championships on the 15-foot screen. So it's like you're standing right there. The field of vision is gigantic. But what's frustrating is if I'm an advertiser, I am paying for my advertising to be seen. And wait a second, the broadcast's on Peacock? And I got to subscribe to Peacock to watch it? No. I'm paying you guys to broadcast this telecast. I'm MasterCard, whoever it is. Everybody should see it. It's not behind a paywall. It's not, on the website. You can't watch the telecast at the USGA website or the one, what is it? Whatever the one is for the Open Championship or the PGA of America. No, I should be able to watch it all because the advertisers are paying for the advertising to be seen. So I don't understand that as well as what else is going on.
Yeah, you got to guarantee people eyes, right? So
yeah,
how many eyes am I going to see?
Yeah,
I agree. I don't understand this whole deal. So I'm interested to see what Brian Rollup says and how it all works. But it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Rob, one of the things that has also confounded me over the last few years now, I mean, this could be anybody, and I'm going to frame it around Jordan Spieth, but Jordan hasn't contended to win a tournament for a few years. In fact, the last one he had came in 2022 at the RBC Heritage. He's finished just outside the top 10 a few times this year, but he hasn't really seriously contended to win a tournament for a few years now. And I admire his loyalty to Cameron McCormick, a guy who's been his coach since I think he was 8 years old. But at some point, whether it's Jordan or whoever it is that has been working with a coach for a long time and things aren't working out, not contending, not playing up to expectations and that sort of thing, is there a point in time when it's just really time for a new voice in your ears and fresh eyes to take a look at what you're doing in order to help you get back on track?
Sometimes that's true, Chris. Sometimes you need a fresh perspective. In Jordan's case, Cameron McCormick's one of the finest coaches we've got in the game, and they do well together. They've got a history together. They know each other so well and know the path they've gotten on. And to me, my easy advice to Jordan and maybe you'll hear it. I don't know. Maybe someone will say, "Hey, this guy was talking about this on Chris Mascaro's show." But my quick, easy advice to Jordan, because everybody talks about his putting being an issue, is go find Chandler Blanchet on the putting green. So everybody's like, Chandler, who? Chandler Blanchet? Well,
Exactly.
Chandler's had a heck of a year. He's 109th in the FedEx standings as a rookie. But I coached Chandler in college. He won the NCAA championships here at West Florida, was a Nicholas Award winner, and had one of the best, probably 4 or 5 months of strokes gained putting in the history of the game. So the year he won the NCAAs, and he putts left hand low, and I worked with him on putting, and I think I've got a screenshot somewhere. I think his strokes gained for the semester when he won the NCAAs was like 5 point something on the greens. It was something off the grid, and he is a great putter, still a great putter. I worked with him, I think his first year on tour still, but we just couldn't get together. I'm too far from him. So he found someone closer to him with work to work on his putting. Still a very fine putter. I'd say go talk to Chandler. Chandler knows what he's doing, left hand low, and let him kind of look at what you're doing and give you a couple thoughts on what he does to putt great left hand low, and see if it doesn't light the putter up a little bit and get it rolling.
One more before I let you go. For our listeners that might be listening to this segment on their way to the golf course, what's one quick tip that you can give them that might help them save a stroke or two on today's round?
What we talked about earlier, prepare to hit a good shot. Don't just walk up, get a yardage, grab a club, aim at the flag, and swing. I talked about this the other day to a couple of players that I've got that are competing. I said, you've got to chunk up a golf course. I said, you just can't look at 18 holes and go, okay, I got to play 18 holes. You got to chunk it up, and everybody chunks it up differently. And by that, I mean, you got to look at it. Like my home course where I grew up in St. Louis, St. Clair, where we had the Golbies and the Haas's and myself all grew up there and played professional golf. When you chunk the course up, you go, okay, 1, 2, and 3, really good holes. If I can get through those under par, that's a bonus. 4, 5, and 6, par 5, drivable par 4, par 5, reachable. We kind of look at those 3 holes and go, birdie, 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 right there. If not 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. 7, 8, and 9, they're good holes, but you can get one there. Then the back 9 starts 10, 11, 12. Even par through those holes is good. Then you've got short par 3 back-to-back par 5s. You got to chalk them up and go, okay, pedal down here. 16 and 17 are as good a holes as you want. Okay, let's pay attention here. Let's not throw away a shot uselessly on these 2 holes. And then 18 is a really good, tricky par 5 where you can make 4, but you can throw it away too with a bad shot. So you got to chunk up your golf course. So when you go play, look at the course and go, here's the holes I play well. Here's the holes I struggle with. Here's your tougher holes. Here's your easier holes. Understanding the last few holes are always usually your tougher segment because they want you to finish on a closing tough stretch, especially the 18th hole. And then the other thing, like I said, is prepare to hit a good shot. Look at where the wind is. Look at the lie of the ball. Look at what's the shot in front of you. The problem is most players are like dogs with the stick. The flag is what they go at. So here's the stick, go fetch, and there's the flag. You aim at the flag. Well, that may not be where you should be going right now. Aim out to the right. Hit it to the fat part of the green. Have a strategy. Have a plan. Get in there. Figure out, okay, what's the shot I want to hit? Take the practice swing. Feel the shot. Go in there. Get set. Hit the shot. But prepare to do it right. The problem with golf is we're so all about pace of play right now that everybody's playing polo out there. They may as well be on horses with sticks. And that's what the golf cart is. I mean, the guys are hitting shots while the carts are still rolling. As long as you're ready when it's your turn to play, you have time to go through at least a few things to prepare to hit a good shot.
Rob, let everybody know how they can stay up to date with the great things that you're out there doing, whether they're on your website, on your YouTube channel, or following you on social media.
I'm pretty easy. Stranogolf.com is the website. You can find a lot of what I do at the academy and my bio there, as well as how to book a lesson. On Instagram, I'm there under The Golf Kingdom, which was my TV show for 6 years after I did 6 years on Golf Channel as a live on-air talent there with some fun stuff I did on Morning Drive and with some other hosts there. Had a great time and then hosted a show after that. The Golf Kingdom's also on YouTube. You can find it there. Type it in. We're late to YouTube with it because we were a live TV show here on the Panhandle. I put them on YouTube. They're there. We don't have a lot of subscribers, so throw me a bone. Go there, subscribe, watch the show. And then over on Facebook, I'm there at Rob Strano also. You can find me there. But either of the 2 threads, now Instagram and Facebook cross post. So whatever's on Instagram is on Facebook, vice versa. Either way, you can find me there. And then you can find me upcoming here in the next couple months on my 27th visit to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro.
There you go. Rob, you're the best, my friend. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy day to come back and be a part of the show. Always fantastic to listen to all the things that you share, whether it's tips or stories or your different anecdotes. Every segment that you're a part of is so much fun for me to be a part of. I'm already looking forward to the next time.
Grazie, my gumba.
Yes.
Ciao, ciao.
See you, Rob. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Chris.
See you, Rob. That is the great Rob Strano, folks. Again, StranoGolf.com, at the Golf Kingdom on YouTube. Go out there and check it out. When I mentioned in his intro that he is one of the most innovative instructors in our game. When you see the things that he did on the Golf Kingdom to help you reduce your strokes and play better, all those things, the drills that he would come up with, absolutely the most creative mind I've ever been around in the game of golf. I mean, it's amazing the things that he would come up with to help you, whether if you were slicing the ball and you had the face of the club was open, or putting drills, or all of the things that he put together to help you get better at what you're doing. Right? He used to call it his construction segments, but construct a good swing. It was amazing what he would come up with. So I encourage you to go out there and to check it out on YouTube and subscribe there. Follow him on Instagram and that sort of thing. But Rob is just one of the great people you get to meet in this game. Just a great human being on the planet. He's just one of those great individuals that you come across in your life, and you're so glad that you can call him a friend. And that's what I feel. He's very important to me. He's been very important to this show. And I'm serious. When you go to the PGA Merchandise Show, he knows absolutely everybody there and will pull me in and say, hey, let me introduce you, which is fantastic for me as a guy who just loves every aspect of our industry. I've gotten to meet so many people through Rob, and I can't thank him enough for that. And like I say, for being just a wonderful part of the show over the last decade or so. We'll catch up with him again real soon. And we'll be right back. You guys have heard me talking about and bragging about the things that are going on up at Macklemore. It's an unbelievable golf resort and destination. Let me remind you about what they have going on this year. Get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2-Under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2-Under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2Under, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. Okay, now back in Next on the Tee with me is PGA Master Professional John Hughes. Let me remind you about John's background. He earned his business degree at Appalachian State. He's been teaching the game for almost 30 years now, and he's worked with everyone from beginners all the way up to tour players. John is one of the few instructors to earn that Master Professional status. He is also a top 25 instructor with Golf Tips magazine. Back in 2013, he won the Horton Smith Award for his dedication to education around the game. He was named the 2023 North Florida PGA Section Teacher of the Year. The Golf Range Association of America has recognized him a couple of times, including naming him a top 100 Growth of the Game instructor. He is the honorary president of the North Florida PGA Section. He has been a fantastic guest over the years and a wonderful friend, and I'm honored he is back with me again today here on Next on the Tee. Hey, John, how are you, my friend?
Absolutely excellent, Chris. How are you, and how's your feet? That's the big question I want answered.
Yeah, the foot's coming along, my friend. The fourth surgery in 2.5 years, and I'm on track this time around. I think it's not going to be perfect, but I think it's going to be better than it has been. So I'm excited about that and looking forward to getting back on the golf course. So I appreciate you asking, though.
I'm hoping it's sometime soon.
I appreciate you, John. Like I talked with Rob in the opening segment, our guests have expressed how much they enjoy the playing lessons part of this show, enjoy your playing lessons. So I want to get right into several because you've put out so much great content on your Instagram and YouTube channel for us. And one of the recent tips is a situation that many of us run into, particularly late in the summer season, and that's finding ourselves on a hard pan lie. Perhaps we're maybe on the edge of the fairway and the grass is starting to get a little sparse, or patches of the fairway may be a little dried out. Talk to us about how we can make solid contact, hit a good shot instead of thinning it or hitting it fat.
So the very first thing I've got to say to this is I got some comments on Instagram like, why are you taking an extra club? Why are you taking an extra club? And I want to address that right away, because Rob sort of talked about it, and I say it a little bit differently. When your lie is in trouble, you want to put the ball middle of your stance automatically and then adjust off of that. But number two, let's take the extra club if you're the higher handicapper, because you're always doubting whether the ball's going to get there. The comments came from a pretty good player, and I had to remind that player, hey, it's not about the better player. The better player knows how to hit off the hard pan. Really good players would prefer to hit it off the cement versus having it fluffy on top of some grass. That's the difference between the higher handicap and the low handicap. So the extra club and the ball position are really critical for that everyday person who listens to your podcast. It's really critical, because now you don't have to worry about how far the ball is going to go. All you've got to do is repeat what you normally do, and that's make a swing with ball contact first. And that particular video, that was a lot of fun to find the hard pan at Omni Champions Gate Golf Club. It's hard to find hard pan. So in finding that hard pan and pulling the club out, I normally do a lot of first takes, and that is a first take that ended up about 3 feet from the hole. And the person who helps me film this, Gene Purple of JP Design Theory, he looks at me and goes, how'd you do that? And he had me throw one down, and I followed my own directions a second time, and that second one was about 6 feet.
Wow.
Put that on video. So it goes to show that anytime you're in trouble, if you can drop back to the basics and literally go through your checklist of basics and figure out, and Rob said it, and I agree, you figure out the lie first. The lie is going to dictate to you what you can and can't do. But you can always grab the extra club to get rid of the doubt of how far is that ball going to go. And I'll combine that with maybe 5% of the holes anyone will ever play throughout their lifetime has trouble in the back. All the trouble's always in front of the green. So being in trouble, hard pan, just trying to hit the ball first, getting set up to do that, and with the extra club, what's the most peril you're going to be in? You run through the back of the green, you got a chip shot to the pin. I'd rather do that than do something crazy off the hard pan or not take enough club, and now I've left myself in a bunker that I might have even more difficult. So that was the theory behind that.
So let's stay right there, because as everyone knows, the weakest part of my game is getting out of a greenside bunker. I'm just looking to get out, but many of our better listeners or better players listening in are trying to control the distance that the ball flies, hit it close to the hole. And you've got a really easy tip that I'm anxious to go out and try. Can you tell everybody what that is?
So first thing is, wherever that leading edge is, that's where the ball's going to go. And you've got to set up so if you're opening the club, the leading edge has got to be where you want the ball to end up. From a distance standpoint of view, you see the pros do it all the time. You just don't recognize what they're doing. They're regulating how much sand is going to be hit from behind the ball. Chunk and run. You hear the announcers talk about it all the time. What's a chunk and run? You're just taking a lot more sand, letting the sand explode the ball out, knowing that it's going to run. It's not going to stop. Most amateurs have a really hard time controlling their low point, and that's what all this is about. And if I was with you trying to get you to hit a bunker shot, I'm trying to get you to get the low point first. Because if you can get a consistent low point, now it's just a matter of moving ball position to take less sand and hit it with maybe a little bit more spin, to take more sand and have it get out to the proper carry distance. You know it's going to roll a certain amount. And you've got to get in the bunker and practice this. First off, trying to get a low point. And then secondly, it's an experimentation process. How far forward can I move it and still get it out? How high is it going to go versus how long is it going to roll? You go through those things from a scientific standpoint of view, doing it one variable at a time, not many. And that's why high handicaps remain high handicaps. They're experimenting with way too many variables. Experiment with one, figure out what that one's going to do for you. Most likely you're going to be able to control that shot better, but you're going to catalog that for use somewhere down the road.
So let me stay in the bunker with you for a second, because to your point, there are a lot of variables. And one of the things that, many of the things that I've heard people talk about is, well, you got to get your center of gravity lower. Well, you got to get the majority of your weight on your front foot. So that helps control, to your point, how much sand is going to come out. That's going to help it pop out and all those sorts of things. For the weekend warrior like me, I mean, I just want to get it out. Should my weight be more forward? Should I be, spread out more? My legs should be wider. Should I be sitting down more? Do I have the handle a little flatter? What are some other things that I should be trying once I get to figure out, to your point, once I understand where the low point is going to be? What are all the other things that I should have in the back of my mind? All right, so I've checked that one off the checklist, if you will. I found my low point. What are the other variables that I should layer in one at a time to not just get out, but now to be a better bunker player?
So that's a deep-seated question that I'm going to answer as simple as I can. And I've said this my entire career. I think people get over-taught in the bunker, especially the high handicappers. You said it best. I just want to get out. And if you cannot control low point, that's quintessential. And the easiest way to think about this, and this is how I start out anybody who's higher handicap, is let's hit some pitch shots with your sand wedge. And how far does that go? And can you control the low point in the grass? And let's mark that with a tee or a can of paint or whatever the case may be. Let's get in the bunker and let's draw a line where that low point is and realize, hey, the ball's just in front of the low point. From that point, and you can master that, the variations, opening and closing the club. Obviously, with more open a face, it's going to go higher, probably not roll as much as if you're closing the face down. However, if you close the face down, you're going to dig your club into the sand. You're not going to get the explosion of sand that you're looking for. Where you're aiming that leading edge. The other thing with distance, like everything else, putting to driving, how far back are you bringing that club in your backswing? That has a lot to do with your distances and how far they are going and how far they're not going. Rob said something about his wedges being ground. Most people with that big heel do tend to dig the heel in the ground if they open it up too much. Having worked for Dave Pelz years ago, his thing was he could never open up the club enough in the bunker. And I would tell you, the way the modern wedge is designed, you open it up too much, the heel gets in there, drags, it leaves it wide open. That's why people are shanking it out of the bunkers. So you have to be careful of that. Another variation that's very easy to do while still controlling low point is where are your hands on the grip. But I'll go back to something you said. Where's weight? Where should weight be? Anchoring your weight forward does a lot of different things that eliminates excess movement. Because when you watch a tour player, when you watch Seekman and you watch all these other short game gurus, what they're trying to do is eliminate excess movement when you're in the bunker. So whether it's your hands down, a wider stance, whatever it is, that weight forward sort of acts like hinges on a door. And if you can imagine it, there's a doorknob on your back front pocket, and all you're trying to do is close the door and release the weight as if you're trying to hit a pitch shot. For the average amateur, that gets them out 99% of the time. And with a little bit more trust in that movement comes the confidence to try to work the other variations.
All right. So I'm with you on all of that. Let me ask you, at what point do we start to get into other variables? I mean, again, weekend warriors, I think we just want to get out.
And that's the starting point.
Okay.
That's the starting point. Just let's get you out. Let's get you out and understand where the out is going. And let's deal with direction first. Out of the bunker, that's the easiest thing to deal with. Where's the leading edge when it impacts the sand? That's where the ball's going to go. And that's what we're doing with somebody on the range. We're trying to have them understand face control. Wherever that leading edge is, that's where the ball's going to go. I think that's the first and foremost. And when you can do that with some confidence, it's at that point you can take one variable at a time, figure out what that variation does to your stock shot, catalog it in your brain because you're going to be using it at some point in the future.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back, and Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit SundaySwagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, SundaySwagger.com. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick, it's not marketing, it's science. Let's hear why they say it, and I say it as well.
You've heard of Squares, and there's a reason why. Because the best swings in golf don't start with your hands. They start from the ground up. Most golf shoes are built for looks, not performance. Squares breaks the mold. Our patented design gives your toes room to engage the ground, creating more stability, balance, and solid contact. Your same swing, now powered from the ground up. Experience the Squares advantage at squares.com. Squares. Performance starts where you stand.
All right, now back to more of the show. John, I want to switch gears just a little bit because I've changed my strategy when I play, and now I need to continue to work on improving my ball striking because sometimes I catch the ball perfectly in the center of the club face and I look like a tour player. But most of the time, I do not. So I find myself, let's say 160 yards out, for example. When I catch it perfectly, I can fly a 7-iron about 160. It'll roll out to 165, maybe 170, but more times than not, I'll fly at 150 and it'll roll out to 155. So I've tried to be more realistic for what's the most likely thing that's going to happen when I'm picking out my distances. And I wanted to get your thoughts. Talk about that. What's the best approach that we should take when we're out there playing versus when we're just hitting balls on the range?
So that's a great question. I covered that as pillar 2 in my book, Instant Golf Improvement, knowing your carry yardages. And minimal, if you're a weekend warrior, if you're the person going out once or twice a weekend within a month and you're putting in some practice time, it behooves you to go to the range and understand how far your ball flies. And with some modern technology that's out there like Top Tracer and TrackMan ranges and that kind of thing, it's a pretty easy thing to do. You just have to be paying attention to, hey, I just hit 10 8-irons and the average was 142 or whatever the average is. That's really what you're looking for, and that's exactly how you said it. I'm just saying it in a simpler way. You're planning for the average carry. And if more golfers would plan for the average carry, not the total, they wouldn't find themselves in the bunker short of the green or in the hazard short of the green. From a practicality on the golf course, I was having this discussion today with the head pro at Omni Champions Gate. What's not just the club you can trust? What is it that you can trust in that heat of the moment? And that can change. That can change from the first hole to the 18th hole. What you're trusting at the beginning of the round might not be the same thing you're trusting at the end of the round. So what is it that you can trust? What is it that you can use at that moment to solve the riddle of what do I do with this shot? And if you're understanding the minimal carry distances, if you're understanding, hey, if I hit it to the middle of the green or just past the middle of the green, what's the worst that can happen? And you start there with the understanding of, I got to trust myself. And club selection should be a mathematical thing, not an emotional thing. Unless you're in the heat of the moment and adrenaline on the 18th hole has you hit one less club simply because the adrenaline's producing it for you. But it's about trust. It's about understanding the numbers. But when you're out playing and not practicing, taking the extra club, it's rare it's ever going to hurt you taking the extra club. But taking the extra club, knowing your average carry yardages because you spent the time on the range doing something productive, not just hitting balls, that's going to get you much further down the scorecard in number versus a bunch of squares around one hole.
All right, so along those same lines, John, and I'm not at the skill level to always go for the pin on my approach shots because my distances do vary. I've switched to aiming to the middle of the green. If I catch the ball in the center of the face, to your point, I'll figure maybe I'm on the back of the green, maybe I'm just a little bit over. More likely, it's going to come up pin high, maybe a little right, maybe a little left, but not in trouble. So I should walk off with no worse than par. If I hit it a little fat, I'm on probably the front of the green. Again, still not in trouble. I still have an opportunity to do things and to make a good score. So I say all that to say I'm getting up there. I don't care where the pin's at. I'm going to try to fly it to the middle of the green. And if I mishit it just a little bit or I hit it too well, if I flush it, it's just maybe going to go over to the back, to your point. Usually there's not a lot of trouble back there. But aiming for the middle of the green, if you're a weekend warrior, is that the right thing to do? Am I flawed in my thought process there?
You're not flawed. I think your playing partners are going to say you're too conservative. You're no fun. Why don't you go for it, Chris? I think that's what you're going to hear. An interesting story. This dates back 23, 24 years. I had a student at the IJGA in Hilton Head. I would always work with this young man on the off time too. And he was extremely aggressive. I called him the pin hunter because it didn't matter where the pin was. He was going for it. And the amount of times he left himself short-sighted with a chip shot and couldn't get it close enough to have an easy up and down were ridiculous. So I bought a 50-foot tape measure and I brought a Coke can with me, and we went up to the greens on 9 holes of a course he was going to play in 3 months at a tournament. And I said, look, I want you to take the end. I'm going to hold the beginning of the tape measure. I'm going to put the Coke can in the middle of the green. And I want you to find the weirdest, most obtuse place that you think a tournament pin position will be on this green. And I want you to pull the tape measure and tell me how far the putt's going to be. And we did that for 9 holes, and the longest putt he had was about 40. Well, as we know now, with all the great technology, taking scores and reading, doing all the things that stats do, we know the average first putt length for a 15 to 20 handicapper is around 38 feet. So we literally went to work on, hey, let's work on distance control from, say, 25 to 35 feet. Because if you're going for the middle and you know this crazy pin could be somewhere else, if you've got a good distance control with the first putt, you should be golden. Well, this kid never even sniffed breaking par at a tournament, and he adapted that strategy for 3 months. He goes to this tournament and he shoots 3 consecutive rounds in the high 60s and wins by a large margin. And he never, ever took the strategy away and went for a pin, no matter how hungry he was to go after a pin, no matter how easy it was. He was always putting it in the middle. And there's something to be said about that at any skill level. You watch the tour players do that at the U.S. Open. I mean, there's a reason for it. The higher handicapper, the better part of valor, checking the ego at the door. Hey, I'd rather play a little conservative. I'd rather have my friends tell me I'm no fun, and then at the end of the day, I'm collecting their jingle at the bar.
So it's not a bad thing. You had me feeling like that I was being foolish, but not so much.
No, especially when you're lame on one foot.
Indeed. John, something else that has come up very recently, thanks to what we saw from Ryan Fox at the Open, was the importance of a pre-shot routine and not having a really long one. We saw him go from deciding what club he was going to pull to getting over the ball to pulling the trigger. No wasted time with him. What do you ideally like to see from your students from having a pre-shot routine and then how quickly they go through the process from selecting the club to pulling the trigger?
So I'll go back to that word trust again. The client I had today, retiring anesthesiologist, does tend to stand over the ball quite a bit. And when you do, you're trying to fix versus trust. So I think the first thing the average amateur golfer has to understand is the old adage of you practice as you play. Most golfers don't practice as they play. They rake a ball over, hit it, rake a ball over, hit it, rake a ball over, hit it. You get into this tempoed routine that eventually starts producing some decent shots, but it's not the same routine you have out on the golf course. You got 2 to 5 minutes between each shot. You're not raking 18 different balls in within 5 minutes while you're walking or riding to your next shot. People fail to practice just the simplest of routine. That's the reset button. That's the way to say, okay, it's time to get to work. It's time to start focusing on this shot, this problem. What are the tasks? What are the questions I need to answer for myself to solve the problem? So when I do stand over the ball, I'm not thinking about how to fix my swing, or I'm not trying to figure out how to hit the draw when I've got an outside in path. I'm just standing over the ball, trusting I've made a good decision with my club. I've made a good decision with where I'm aiming, and I've made a decision to go for it, to not hold back. I'm not saying overswing, but to not hold back. And when you're standing over the ball getting tense and tight, you are holding back, whether you realize it or not. And that's why you're trying to swing even harder, because you're feeling that stiffness, that the extra thought happens. To Mr. Fox's way of doing things, a lot of people don't understand. As he's walking to the ball, all those decisions that you're thinking of standing over the ball, he's making as he's walking up there. All these tour players have the conversations with their caddies. They have the internal conversations with themselves, and they go through all the what ifs. So by the time they get to the ball, there's very little doubt. They've got it narrowed down to 1 or 2 different options. In Ryan's case, he was on a roll and he was trusting himself. There was no need to doubt anything. He was either going to win it or he wasn't. He had nothing to lose. And I think that's another thing that amateur golfers who play every weekend, you play like you've got your house to lose or your spouse to lose or your grandchildren to lose. Come on, it's only a game. Let's stand over the ball and have some fun and just make it a 2 to 3 point checklist of your pre-shot. But have you gone to practice that? And that's the real key. I think if you go to the practice range for an hour, can you go through your pre-shot routine with these wedges and scoring clubs and get your average distances? That would be an extremely productive practice versus trying to fix a backswing or trying to fix a position at the top. You don't practice enough to be fixing positions, but you have enough time to practice your routine. That routine's the roundabout out to the golf course. You have enough time to practice your yardages and understanding how far you carry things. That is data and trust that every golfer needs.
John, just a couple more before I let you go. You've also got a great tip for how to quickly figure out the speed of the greens when we may only have a few minutes before our tee time. Like you mentioned in the video, maybe your buddies called you up and you've got an emergency 9 that you're going to do after work. If we've got 5 minutes to drop a few balls to try to understand how fast are these greens rolling, what's a great way to do that?
There's 2 ways. In the video, I basically talk about dropping some balls and putting a tee at the edge of a green. You don't even need a hole, and graduate those balls every 4 to 5 feet. And all you're trying to do is hit a putt to the tee at the edge of the green. If the ball barely rolls into the edge, into the rough in the first cut, you're golden. Another way of doing it is plop 4 or 5 balls down in the same place and pick out 4 or 5 different distances you can hit too. If those are all downhill, turn around and do it uphill too. The real key here is, and I did this with when I was coaching high school girls, and we were playing at a place we had never played before. The only requirement I had for them is you go to the green first, put the tee down on the edge of the green, graduate 4 balls, 5, 10, 15, and 20 feet, and get the green speed. And if you do that, I don't care what else you do. You have to do that because greens change at your favorite course on a minute by minute basis based on how much water, wind, temperature. The greens change. You've got to be able to adapt and understand distance control of that. And if you're getting called for the emergency 9, they can wait 3 to 5 minutes for you. They've already waited the 5 minutes for you to get the speeding ticket on the way there. So,
Indeed. John, you mentioned this a little bit ago, but you've written a wonderful book, Instant Golf Improvement, The 6 Pillars to Golf Success. The last time you were on the show, you kind of teased us that a new edition might be coming out. Remind everybody about the book and when we might be able to see the next part.
So the working title of this next book is Pillars to Performance. The subtitle of the first one, Instant Golf Improvement, is 6 Pillars to Success. So in the next one, I'm just beginning to edit it. I've had a really full spring and summer, both here in Orlando at Omni Champions Gate, up at Omni Homestead in Hot Springs, Virginia. And the plan was to get editing this so it's ready for the holidays. It's still my plan. But it goes deeper into those 6 pillars and how to practice those pillars for the person who reads the first book and says, wow, this makes a lot of sense. How would I practice this? That's what the second book's going to be about. And some of the things I talked to you about, talk to my clients about, it's a archival history of the things I've taught and try to make things easier for people. What we've been working on is a lot of short videos with a lot of short blog posts. We're trying something new. Blog posts right now are very long form. We're trying to keep a blog post down to like it's short for a video. And there's 60 of them. We've got about a third of them out right now. We're shooting videos to accompany them. And a couple of those should be released here in the next couple of weeks. But from the book standpoint of view, the 6 pillars: aim, know your yardages, be able to distance control your putts and make short putts, really wrap your arms around the idea that every shot on the golf course can be a chip shot of a various size. And then the 5th one, which I think is the most important, is don't play stupid golf. I've always told my son there's a difference between dumb and stupid. Stupid knows better. And every time you go out knowing better, yet you do it anyway on the golf course, that's stupid golf. No wonder your score's so high. The 6 pillars, how do you put all 5 of those together in a working plan without any practice? Now, that's how the genesis of the book came about, because I would be coaching people who would go, I'd give them homework, go home, work on this, work on that, work on this. They'd come back a week, 2 weeks, a month later. It was obviously putting no homework in. And I would have to sit them down and ask them if they're going to do it. And they're like, well, no. Some of them were very obstinate as far as practicing. Others had legitimate life priorities that kept them from practicing. So that was the idea behind the book. What can you do with little to no practice based on any lifestyle or any decision? And it was more attitude changing, and it was more information gathering. If you really read the book and look at it, can I gather enough information in a short amount of time that I have to where I can make better decisions? And can I have 2 or 3 core skills that no matter where I am on the golf course are going to get me through some rough patches? I should be able to enjoy the game better simply because I'm executing shots I've never thought I could execute. And at some point, the score is going to lower. And that's what Instant Golf Improvement's about.
Fantastic stuff. John, how can our listeners stay up to date with all the wonderful things you're out there posting on your Instagram page, on your website, and then all the other places that they can find you on social media?
Sure. It's social media or website. It's really easy. John Hughes Golf, John Hughes Golf YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. It's John Hughes Golf. JohnHughesGolf.com. Put John at in front of that. That's my email address. Would love to see people come see me here in the Orlando area or on the Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. They're just wonderful people to be around. I am very blessed to call that home. And I'm also very fortunate with the opportunity to go to another sister course, the Homestead, America's oldest resort up in Hot Springs, Virginia. I actually leave here in a couple of days for that with a full slate and have some availability for one last residency stint in early fall. If people want to join me up there, it's a fantastic place to see the leaves turn.
John, you always make this segment so informative and educational. I always learn something each and every time you're a part of the show. I can't thank you enough for coming back and being a part of this week's episode, and I hope it's not too long before we get to do it again.
I'm available when you need me, Chris. You can always count on me, and I appreciate the opportunity that you provide me and the audience to learn a little something along the way.
You're fantastic. Best of luck up there in Virginia, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Sounds good. Take care, Chris.
See you, John. That is the great John Hughes, folks. JohnHughesGolf.com and at John Hughes Golf, where you can find him all across social media and on his YouTube channel. Look, there's so many great tips that he shared with us in this segment. I hope you got a lot out of it. I took a ton of notes, right? For me, as you guys know, and we talked about it in the segment, right? I struggle in the sand trap. So where the leading edge points, that's where the ball's going to go. So learning that, and then the weight distribution and one variable at a time, I think that's very important. At least it is to me, because I'm thinking about so many things. And right, then that's where we all go wrong. Too many swing thoughts. Well, too many swing thoughts in the bunker. Is my weight forward enough? Where's the ball position? Is my handle, should it be flatter? Should it be more upright? Where's the face pointing? All of those sorts of things. How far am I taking it back? He mentioned that. Want to get a little more detail next time he's on the show about that. But all of those things, it's way too much, right? One at a time. That's what I took out of his points to me, right? How can I be a better bunker player? Let's try one thing at a time. All right, how's that going? And then move on to the other variables. I thought that was very important. At least it was to me, right? Play for the average carry. That is something that I've tried to ingrain in my game, right? I think we all try to play, like I flushed it. Boy, I flushed that one. Well, how far did you hit? Well, I hit that one 170. So now we get into, I can hit my 7-iron 170. Yeah, you can, but can you do it all the time? Can you repeat it? Is it always center contact? Or what is, like John talked about, what is the average carry? So that is something that I'm trying to instill in myself. Trust, right? Math, not emotions, right? So it's getting into that average piece, right? Not the emotional side of it. What can I do? Or what's my hero shot? What does the math tell me? And trust that. And then standing, over the ball and have some fun, right? That's the other thing that we tend not to do enough like we should, right? We talk about it on this show a lot. The game's supposed to be fun. That's first and foremost, particularly if you're a weekend warrior. Right? The game should be fun. We're not playing for, like John said, your mortgage isn't on the line, right? We're not paying for pink slips here like they used to talk about with respect to, your car, right? We're out there to have some fun. You're with friends. Let's keep it at that, right? Let's just go out there and have fun, and don't play stupid golf. I can't tell you how many times I get mad at myself because I go brain dead out there, right? Don't play stupid golf. So all of those things are some of the things that I wrote down that John shared, and he's just an absolute gem. Another wonderful individual that I've been blessed to meet in person at the PGA Merchandise Show and spend time with, not just here on the show, but in person. He is a 10 times better person than he is a golf teacher, and he's a PGA Master Professional. So that tells you how great of a golf instructor he is, but he's an even better person. So I thank John, and I look forward to catching up with him again, hopefully here before too long. All right, that's it, folks. It is time for me to put a bow on this special episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Rob Strano and John Hughes for joining me today. Like I mentioned last time, scheduled to join me next time are 8-time Canadian women's long drive champion Lisa Longball Vluswick will be here. Our good friend and PGA Tour legend Tom Pertzer will be back. And making their next On the Tee debuts with me will be sports and performance psychologist Dr. Jim Enfremow and Emmy-nominated sports writer Phil White. So a lot of goodness on tap for you next time around, folks. Hope you come back and be a part of it with us. As always, I want to thank our friends again over at Trib Live for being such great partners with me here on the show and for hosting it on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find the show by then clicking on the Sports Section tab, and right there on the homepage of the Sports Section, front and center for you, you're going to find the most recent episode of the show. Or you can type in podcast.triblive.com, then click on Next on the Tee, and many of the most recent episodes from this season will be available for you right there as well. But as you guys all know, you can find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and GolfNewsNet.com as well. I also want to invite you again, subscribe to my new Substack page. On there, you're going to get a lot of great articles. Started writing some articles for you. I've got the Next on the Tee Legends Vault is available for you there. The Did You Know on this day in golf history, all that stuff available for you, free on my Substack page. Plus, as I say, you can listen to the show there too. I'm also adding the audio up there. So all in one place, you can find everything starting now on Substack. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, bar none. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.